Okay, we're going to do two problems in this video, two word problems that have to do with creating a table to come up with equations. Now, some people skip the table. The reason for the table is to organize your thoughts. It's not required. However, this is going to be emphasized in Algebra 1. It's good to learn it now. You'll impress Miss Waters or Miss Chu, whoever your teacher is next year, when you know how to do a rate times time equals distance table. We've learned these in Math 15 before. So they'll be excited when you propose this as an idea. For these first few problems, maybe it's not so complicated, but when we get into more complicated problems next year, this is an excellent tool to have. So two trucks start from the same point and travel in opposite directions. The red truck travels 55 miles per hour and the blue truck travels 50 miles per hour. In how many hours will the trucks be 630 miles apart? So the red truck travels in one direction and the blue truck travels in the other direction. And we're looking to know when the total of those two things is 630 miles. That might be a little diagram you might want to make. Write and solve an algebraic equation. So, in how many hours will the truck be 630 miles apart? The question, I want you to be very careful about this. The question, in a word problem, the question tells you what the variable needs to be. What is the unknown? The unknown is how many hours, right? So you might want to say something like H equals number of hours the truck traveled, or the trucks traveled, because they both travel at the same time, right? Trucks traveled. Okay. So define your variable well. We talked about that already this class. Define your variable well. Now, I'm going to propose that we make a table. So a rate times time equals distance table. So rate times time equals distance. First of all, that formula. Imagine, like many of you went on the Vermont trip. The rate, the buses travel about 50 miles per hour on average. They got stuck in some traffic here and there. They go faster than that, but on average, they go about 50 miles per hour. And we traveled for 4 hours and we went about 200 miles. Well, you get that from taking the rate, the 50 miles per hour, times the time, the 4 hours, and you get the total distance traveled. So R times T equals D is an important equation, right? Now, algebraically, it also means that R equals D divided by T. And it also means that T equals D divided by R, okay? But R times T equals D is a very, very important equation. So let me actually erase the circle here. I'm going to make our chart right here. So a rate times time equals distance chart. In the first row, let's have our first truck. Our first truck went 55 miles per hour. For some unknown time, I guess we're going to use H for that. And it travels, therefore, a distance of those two things multiplied, 55 times H. At any given moment, any given point in time, that truck has traveled 55 times H. Now the other truck is going 50 miles per hour, also traveling H hours because they left at exactly the same time, so they're traveling the same amount of time. Therefore, it travels 50 H. Okay. So in the table, we can see that these are the distances traveled, 55 H and 50 H. And in order to get 630 miles, those two trucks are going to be adding their distances together because they're going apart from each other. That's what the diagram was to start off with. So we wind up with an equation, 55H plus 50H equals 630, And therefore, we can add these two things together, 105H equals 630, and H equals 6 hours. So the trucks traveled 6 hours combined. All right, we're going to do the other word problem in a separate video because I think this went a little long already. Now, this table is not a revelation, I don't think. But it can happen anytime we have a formula especially a formula where two things are multiplied together to equal something else. That's going to be the common thread with all the tables that we do. R times T equals D in this case. So we have two things multiplied together equaling something else. You make a table out of it and totally organize your thoughts. Now, the table in tonight's homework, I think questions 70 and 74 or something like that, those are different types of tables. That's kind of a guess and check table. That's an interesting type of table to come up with an equation. Different idea, but it explains how to do that right in the problem. So I'm not going to do a video on that. We can certainly talk about it in class, but that's a different video, okay? This kind of actually leads more into tomorrow night's homework, right, to be totally honest. I'm going to give you another one right after this.